Well, good morning, guys and gals. It's me, George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man. And, yeah, I've got my work cut out for me. This Husqvarna is one that was given to me recently. And it has a carburetor problem. I'm going to be swapping carburetors out on it. It had no solenoid on it, and some of the wiring was messed up. And so I replaced the solenoid, and when you use a solenoid like this one that has two terminals on it, one of those terminals has got to go to ground, otherwise it will not work. The ones that have a single terminal on them are grounded through the case of the solenoid itself. So there's one tip for you. For whatever reason, they had cut the wire going to the solenoid from the starter switch, so we had to make a new connector for that. And as I said, this one has a carburetor issue, and I'm going to take a carburetor that came off of another Husqvarna that I had and put on here, one that I think is good. It was good when I took it off, and I'm still going to take it out and take it apart and clean out the float bowl and double check inside there, make sure it hasn't got gunked up from sitting, because it's been sitting for about a year. So that's one thing, and I wanted to point out something here. Now you'll see that the rods connecting are still hooked up, which is the way I left it so I wouldn't forget where they went. And I also want you to notice that there's only two connectors, one here and one there. Now remember that, because we're going to go look at this other Husqvarna. This one here is a 20, I think this one's a 22 horsepower. Is that right? No, this one is a 24 horsepower. This one here is a 22. That carburetor over there came off a 23. And this one here, some of you will remember this one because this one was the mower that had been flooded, and you can see how rusty the flywheel is and the coils and all that, but they still work. But notice the difference here. This one has 1, 2, 3 connectors, and this one here goes up to this Vtwin governor assist. And I want you to know that the replacement carburetors that come out now, none of them have this on it. And of my other 1, 2, 3, 4, I have 4 Husqvarna mowers right now, and this is the only one that has this on it. So I'm going to be eliminating that because it doesn't really need it, because it has the same setup coming off the governor down underneath in here. So hold on to your hats. I'm going to be changing some carburetors. One here and one over there. And then, if I have enough time after I get done working on Huskies, I have to go back to this Troy built, and the new carburetor has come in for this. Look at that packaging. Look at the pink packaging. Is that nice or what? Or I guess that's peach colored, not pink. But this has new carburetor in there, and it has air filter and a spark plug and all that good stuff. I bought the whole kit. And so we'll be replacing this carburetor on here, and we'll get this running. I also bought tie rod ends for it, because remember I had showed you this one here was being held on by a wire tie. Not a bad idea, and it works, but this had a problem where the steering wasn't working. Well, as it turns out, this piece here is what holds the steering shaft in line as it goes down through the frame, and I'll show you that later when I get to it, because I have to take the gas tank back off. And the frame has this hexagonal cut in it. Well, this piece here, this bushing, was broken in half, so the shaft wasn't staying lined up and this wasn't staying engaged with the steering gear underneath. So we'll get to that too, probably in a separate video. So hold on to your hats and let's get some Huskies going. Okay, so now that we got this all loosened up, and we're going to take this nut off here. I wonder, is that the same size nut as this right here? I think it is. Yep, there it is. This is going to save us a little bit of work. One less piece of linkage to put back, and the bolt that holds that on place is also the bolt that holds the coil, and we don't have to worry about that because that's nice and tight. I've already tightened it up before when I had it apart. Now the fun part is disconnecting the lines down under here, the linkage. Now let me see if I can get you down there so you can see the linkage. See right down in here where I have my finger underneath there. So now this one here, all you have to do is push it straight out like that, because it just has a 90-degree end on it. See that? So that takes care of that one. And then you come down to the other side. Then you have this piece here, which has a loop going in. So now that we get the first one disconnected, we're going to swing the whole carburetor sideways. I'm going to use a pair of pliers to help me and twist that puppy right out of there. Just like that. Now we're ready to remove the carburetor, just like that. Okay, now, so we're going to take this part of the air intake system off. 4 bolts, 4 nuts, I should say. There you go, that comes right off just like that, and that was a 7/16, that one is. Now, we have these little tiny dooflickies on the end here. Whoa! See that? Those little Torx ends? Yep, that's what we have to get loosened up to get the carburetor away from the rest of the intake. And that can use, this is, I guess this actually is a Torx. And you just break them loose like that with a ratchet. You probably don't even need the ratchet because a nut driver handle will work just as well. Now this is the carburetor that was on this mower to begin with, and I had taken it off when I saw that my new one didn't have the extra lever for the vane for the governor. I thought, well, that's going to be a problem, but after further investigation I have discovered that they just don't use that vane anymore. I guess it was all in vane. That's a joke. That's a joke, yeah. Okay. Not very funny, George. So, anyway, we're going to eliminate the vane. And we're going to put brand spanking new carburetor on here. Even after trying to clean this one up, which I had tried to do before, I still had trouble with it. So now we lift that puppy right off of there, just like that. And here's our brand new carburetor that's going to go back on there. And notice again that it has this up here, but not the one down below. That's what we're eliminating. So I'm going to put it all back together. I think you can figure that part out pretty simply if you've got this far. I'm going to save this for future reference or something else. This one here will get swapped over and go on to the new one, so I don't forget which one goes where. It's always good to do replacements as you go if you can. Now, one thing you got to make sure you remember is that you put these bolts back in through the carburetor like this, not like that, before you put your gasket on. Then your gasket goes over it. These bolts have this shoulder on it here that goes down into that recess. So then this goes over top of that. If you don't have shaky hands like me, it sure helps. Okay? So now I got to put my gasket on the other side. And in this case, you have a double gasket, which has this metal sleeve in between that guides the flow of air and fuel mixture. And that goes to the top. I'm sorry, it goes to the bottom. It goes to the bottom with the pieces that are sticking out going downward. Like that. And then this gets bolted back onto here. This has captured nuts there on the intake manifold that these screw into. And actually you could screw this back together and then put this gasket on afterwards with no problem. Okay, now we're ready to put it back on the machine. Yeah, put it back on the machine after you bolt this part of your air filtration system back on. Don't be a bonehead like the Shade Tree Fix-It man. And don't have shaky hands. It sure helps if you can do it without shaking all over the place. Another thing you don't want to forget is don't want to forget to put your breather tubes. There's 2 of them back here, and it's easy to forget when you get working on this and putting stuff together. Forget those. They're important for the proper running of your vehicle. Proof is in the pudding. One down, 2 to go. Well, we got the carburetor all back on, and the fuel pump started pumping. But watch what's happened. You see all that stuff sliming around in there? Yeah, watch. That be pure water, or 99% water, and I just put 2 gallons of gas in it. Ay, ay, ay. Good thing the water goes to the bottom, but that's why it wouldn't start. I had it going into the carburetor. Oh, after I cleaned the carburetor all out. Oh, some days are diamonds and some days are stone. Sometimes the hard times won't leave you alone. Well, I think we're going to have to revisit this one. Yeah, that came out of there. And to get that out of there, you also have to take part of the frame apart, and you have to unbolt the fenders, which go underneath the cowl, so all the bolts under there are done, so the whole thing is loose. And who in his worst nightmares designed this gas tank so that it wraps around part of the frame? And while it's a good idea for the gas line to come out the top, like it is right there, it gives no opportunity for draining it out the bottom. And I probably put, I don't know, maybe a gallon or more of gasoline in this tank. You see the water beating on the gasoline on the floor? Now if you look down closely here, see if I can find you the place where, well, there's the gas line on the top. See where it's reflecting off of it? And then you go down further in, and you have a second line down in there, and that is the water. There is probably more than a quart of water in there. Yep. See all that stuff waving back and forth at the bottom? That stuff waving back and forth at the bottom is all water. There's at least a quart of water. All of that dirt is suspended in the water, not in the gas. Water sinks to the bottom, remember? Well, you know what? I'm not thinking I'm going to put this one back together. It's got 3 flat tires on it. And I have another mower that's identical to it down back that needs a motor. It would be simpler, and I don't believe that I've got a quart of water in the gas tank in that one. I think it would be simpler for me to yank the motor off of this and put it on the other one. It's got 3 good tires, and I could take the one good tire off of this one and put it on that one. Just use this one for parts. I have no idea how the transmission is in this one. I know the other one is good. So I think that's the plan. Who in their right mind designed that setup? Let's look at this Troy built. They put the gas tank, the battery in the back under the seat, and they put the gas tank up front here. And 2 bolts, one there and one on the other side in the same place. These brackets fold down, and the gas tank can come right out of there. Now I understand they're thinking, yeah, the gas is right next to the motor and it's going to get hot and all that good stuff. Well, this one's been around. I think this was made in '99, or is this the one that was 2007? I don't know. But it's been around for a few years and it ain't burned up yet. I like that design better than this one. And as a matter of fact, as far as that goes, the old Husqvarna that I worked on, that I ended up scrapping out, that one, the fenders went around the cowl, so you could lift the fender section right off entirely and totally expose the gas tank, and the gas tank didn't have this big hole in it. It was just a rectangle. The gas cap was in the middle, and the gas line came out the bottom of the tank. Yeah, well, I'm not an engineer. I just try to fix what they do. Like I said, thanks for watching. Bye now. Okay, I just need one of you guys to give me a hand lifting that motor off. It's not bolted down. Then I'll swap the tire out and I'll take it up to the garage and we'll swap motors up there. And we'll work on this motor later on. So hold on to your hats. Thanks for watching, commenting, subscribing, thumbs up, sharing, all of them good things. We'll get this one too. Bye for now. Getting ready for the big engine swap. Left to right. Hold on to your hat.